Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Simone McKinney, WTOC's digital anchor and reporter. We're going to get started with day 5 of the Leilani Simon trial in just a few moments. Again, this live stream is on a 30-minute delay, so everything you're seeing is about 30 minutes behind per the judge's orders. Yesterday was a packed day in court, hearing from nearly 8 witnesses, including that continued testimony from Daniel Youngkin. We heard from doctors. We also heard from former friends of Leilani. We heard from the daughter of the babysitter of Leilani's. So we are hearing a lot in the courtroom. They're stepping in right now. Just a few things to keep in mind for you as we get started. If you're watching or trying to watch on our WTOC live stream or the Roku app, that is experiencing some technical issues within our apps. So the best live stream that we have for you right now is right here on YouTube. So thanks for joining us. It seems like they're entering the courtroom, so we're going to take you straight there. Make sure to stay tuned with us both on air and online.
Hope everybody had a good evening, and we will see how Friday unfolds. This week?
The evening.
It has a way of seeming very short. I think I agree.
I don't have 3 sons either.
Okay, Ms. Simon is taking her seat with counsel. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we are on the record for SPCR 22-03364J6. Let the record reflect that the prosecutors are present: AUSA Tim Dean, Assistant District Attorney Jennie Parker, along with Detective Marion Lemons. Ms. Simons is seated with her attorneys, Martin Hilliard and Robert Purse. All right. And so is there anything that we need to take up before bringing in the jury?
There is one minor issue, Your Honor. After we recessed yesterday, I was advised by somebody, I forget whom, that the defendant could be observed mouthing some words during the testimony of our last witness yesterday, Talia McCarta. I went back and looked at the court TV footage from that testimony, and it did appear to me that at some point during that testimony, while Talia was relating one of the vignettes that she shared with the court, that the defendant did mouth quite noticeably, "That's a fucking lie," or "You're a fucking liar," or something to that effect. And she's furrowing her brow and acting like she didn't do that, but it's caught on video that she did. The court can go back and see it. She's still doing that. Doesn't make it not true. She has an absolute right to testify under oath from the witness stand. I don't know whether she'll exercise it or not. That's up to her. But what she does not have a right to do is make unsworn statements from counsel table that the jury might be able to observe. So I would ask the court to admonish her not to do that. I don't know how much control this particular defendant has over her facial expressions and mannerisms and things like that, but it seems like keeping your mouth shut is something she ought to be able to accomplish.
All right, Mr. Dean, thank you. Mr. Hilliard.
Your Honor, she was leaning over and she was whispering to me or Mr. Purse at the time. Okay, so while I understand Mr. Dean's concern, and I understand Mr. Dean doesn't like it, she has the absolute right to communicate to us her thoughts and her opinions. Okay, so the fact that there's a camera here is not something I have any control over, nor does Ms. Simon, and nor does Mr. Dean. Okay, so I'm not really sure what, and just for the record, okay, I always tell my clients to scribble it down, write it, pass it to me, rather than have something like this, because the state likes to make these great big things into something. Basically, it's a molehill that they're trying to turn into a mountain, and it's not really relevant. But she has the absolute right to communicate with me and Mr. Purse. And the fact that the camera picked it up, irrelevant. The fact he didn't like what she said, completely irrelevant. The fact he's trying to tell her she can't say it, that is relevant. She has the absolute right to talk to us, Judge. And again, I didn't put the camera there. I don't put the camera on her, and I don't control what goes out. Okay, so I'm not going to ask my client to not communicate with us. That's just simply not going to happen. I have asked her to write it down or whisper it to me. Okay? The fact that you can see has nothing to do with us. I've had to go through this entire trial trying to keep myself exactly where I'm at, doing exactly what I need to do, not cognizant of the fact that there are people behind me that are recording and paying attention to everything I do. Trust me, I get where Mr. Dean's coming from. Okay? It affects all of us. But I'm not going to ask her not to communicate with us. Okay? That's just not going to happen. Okay? And I will tell her to try and be more discreet about it, which I've already done, but I'm not going to ask her not to communicate with us, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, I've heard from both. We're going to move on from this point, but I will address Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon, you do have a right to communicate with your attorneys. I will say I did not observe mouthing from the defendant to the last witness, but nor was I looking the entire time. I don't discount what Mr. Dean has observed. I also don't discount what your attorneys have stated on your behalf. Do not make any mouthing communication with any of the witnesses. I'm not saying you have. Don't do it, okay? Speak to you are free to speak with your attorneys, but we'll let it stay there. Okay? All right. So, other than that, is there anything else from the state at this point?
Yeah, Your Honor. Although Ms. Parker is going to be handling the first witness today, and she does not have a microphone. So the question would be, is there a second microphone?
You can use this one.
Is that a microphone up there?
Mr. Hilliard's giving me his.
Is that going to be a problem for you that using the defense mic? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hilliard.
Oh, no problem.
And Ms. Parker, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Bring in the jury, please.
Yes,
Phone at your table. You can't. There's a button on. Yeah. As long as that's on, she'll be able to hear you. All right, please have a seat. And good morning. Welcome back this Friday morning. I hope you all had a good night. You're here ready to go on time. We very much appreciate that. We did start court at 9 o'clock. We had a couple of matters that we had to take up first, but we're going to move in. But I must ask you the question, has anyone done any research overnight? All right. Has anyone discussed the case overnight? Has anyone heard anyone discuss the case around them overnight? Okay. And with that, we are going to turn to the state, and the state may call its first witness. First witness is Friday.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Michelle McCarta.
Excuse me.
Step this way now. Face the clerk. Come on. the evidence you gave the court and the jury and the trial this issue should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Step this way, ma'am. Now let's see the upstairs.
All right, good morning,
Good morning.
Ms. Parker.
Will you tell the jury your name, please, ma'am?
Michelle McCarta.
And are you the mom of Talia that we heard testify yesterday?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you know the defendant in this case, Leilani Simon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you also know Daniel Youngkin?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you know their children?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know Quentin Simon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before we get deeper into this, I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 29. May I approach, Your Honor? Yes. Ms. McCarta, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 29. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and without saying what's in it, is it a photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and does it fairly and accurately depict what is in the photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, we tender what's been marked as State's Exhibit 29 into evidence, please.
Okay, Exhibit 29 is admitted without objection.
Okay. And now that it's in evidence, can you tell us what this is a picture of?
This is a picture of Quentin when I was off. We took him to a lobster to eat.
Okay. So in this photograph, he was out with you.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I publish this to the jury? Yes, you may. Thank you. I'm just going to do it old school.
Okay.
Ms. McCarta, how did you first become acquainted with the defendant and Daniel?
Through a church lady that went to church with us for many years,
Okay, and who was the church lady? What was her name?
Sandra Howell.
Okay, and was she related to them in some way?
She was the sister of Billy Joe's husband.
Okay, so that would be, she was the sister of the defendant's stepfather?
Yes.
Okay, and did she introduce you to them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what was the purpose of her introducing you to them?
She had been keeping the children, and her knee got real bad. So she asked if me or my daughter, or both, could watch them because she wasn't able to do that anymore.
Okay. How many daughters do you have?
I have 3 daughters.
Okay, and which daughter was going to help babysit?
Maritza McCarta.
Okay, and is that your oldest daughter?
No, she's 19. She's my middle.
She's the middle one, and then
Yes.
Talia's the youngest.
Yes.
Okay, so did you go and meet with the defendant and her family to perhaps babysit the children?
No, ma'am. Billy Joe had called me on the phone a couple days later.
Okay, and did she set up the babysitting arrangement?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember approximately when this was?
We started watching Quentin and them around the end of January, February of 2022.
Okay. And that would have been before Sky was born.
Yes.
So at that time, when you first started babysitting, there were just the 2 boys.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And about how old would the boys have been then?
Quentin was young, maybe 9 months, 10 months.
Okay. So they would have been, Zane would have been a toddler.
Yes.
And Quentin would have been an infant.
Yes.
When you first started babysitting.
Yes.
them. So how did it work? Who brought the kids to your house?
Most of the time, Danny. Once in a while, Leilani.
All right. And how often would the children stay with you?
At first, it was just when they worked. And then it started being overnight. And a lot of times, we would even call for Quentin to stay with us, even when they were off.
Okay. Now, who was paying you?
Leilani was paying, but it wasn't like steady. She would pay, and then she would text me later and tell me she needed formula for Sky or diapers, and could she come and get it, and she would pay back when she got paid next time.
Okay. And how much were they paying you to babysit? Do you remember?
Yes.
What the agreed upon amount was, whether you were actually getting that or not?
It was like $25 here, $30 there. One time I think she paid $100. It was just different amounts
Okay.
because she would tell me she didn't have it or she had to do this.
So is it fair to say that you and your daughter were being paid a lot less than the normal going rate for childcare?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. You said that Quentin would spend the night sometimes. Would both the boys spend the night or just Quentin?
Zane stayed a handful of times. Quentin stayed a lot.
And why is that? Why would Quentin stay overnight?
Honestly, Quentin loved us. He was close to us. And I just felt like he would be better off at our house because there was a difference in the love she showed between Zane and Quentin. And I felt bad, and I would work, and my daughter would say, "Can we just get him, Mom, because this happened today?" And I would say, "Yeah, call her and ask her if he can stay."
Can you think of some examples of how the defendant treated the boys differently?
Well, she was working at Bojangles, and she had brought food home, and she fed, Quentin loved food, and every time he seen a bag, he would want it. He's little. She would feed Zane before she fed Quentin, every time. And I just thought that was strange.
So do you mean she'd give Zane food and make Quentin wait?
Yes, ma'am,
I mean,
absolutely.
She wasn't physically feeding Zane at that
No, she would give him the food.
Just give him food.
And he would eat, and then Quentin would be, whining and wanting it, and she would have given it to him eventually.
Did you ever say anything to her about that?
I did not.
Are there any other ways that she treated the boys differently that you noticed?
Just by the way she talked to him, when she would, once in a while that she did come and pick them up, she would, grab Zane and he would hug her because he was close to her. I mean, you could definitely tell it. And then, Quentin, 99% of the time, wanted to stay with us, and he would start crying. Now, if Danny come and picked him up, it was different.
Okay. How did Quentin act if Danny came?
He would go with Danny. He wouldn't cry to stay with us. He loved Danny. He would, Danny would pick him up and he'd hug him.
Okay. All right. Did Leilani ever talk to you about how she felt about the boys?
Yes, ma'am. She just, one time, and my daughter had more talks with her than I did. I didn't really talk to her that much. But she just said that she loved Quentin more. I mean, Zane more than Quentin. And, I didn't question it. She's a crappy mom. I knew that. But I just never said anything to her. I would always call Billy Joe when I seen things that was going on.
Okay. Did she ever, in that conversation, did she explain more about, like, Zane had been through things with her?
Yes,
Or anything
that
like
Zane had been her ride or die his whole life. And she did not like Quentin's father.
Okay. So, other than what you saw in your own home, did you ever see things outside? Like, did you ever observe the children at her house or outside their house?
On one incident, my daughter was going to our shed, that's where our laundry room is, and she had come running in and saying, "Mama, Zane and Quentin is in the ditch." Well, it was the road on McCarta, but the ditch is right here, and Quentin was actually in the ditch, and Zane was trying to get him out.
Okay. Did you go out and see the kids outside?
I did.
Okay. And at some point, were they returned home or took back to your home?
They was returned. I asked Talia to take them home and find out where Leilani was. I immediately called Billy Joe.
Okay. And observing these kinds of things, did you ever report it to any authorities?
It had been reported. It had happened several times even before we started keeping them. that I didn't know about, and it had been reported.
Okay. Do you know what authority, if any, it had been reported to?
Defects.
Okay. And you say it had been reported, so were you aware of somebody other than you reporting it? Okay. And if you could say yes or no.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I won't ask you what they said, since we're in court. I just need you to, say what you did and said. Let's move to the day that Quentin disappeared.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember that morning?
Yes.
All right. Or actually, let's talk about the day before we
Okay.
move to that. The day before, were you supposed to watch the children that day?
Yes.
And what happened?
They picked up the kids. I did watch them, and Danny come and picked them up, and they were supposed to come back the next day. And around about 5:28, 5:29, I got a text from Danny saying that Leilani was keeping the kids today.
Okay. Now, had that happened before, where she would not go to work and the children would stay at home?
No, because even if she didn't go to work, most of the time she sent them to us because she wanted to sleep.
Okay. And how do you know that?
Because, and she would stay at home because one day I had them and me and my daughters were taking them somewhere. And when we rode by, when we got in the car, she was on her front porch. It's like a little porch. And when she seen us, she actually ducked down and hid from us because she was supposed to be at work. But it didn't matter. We loved them, so I would have kept them anyway.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Quentin was like? Like, what did Quentin like? I know he was very young. He wasn't even 2 years old yet. But were there things that he said or things that he liked that you know about?
Yes. He loved cheese. Every time I would get home from work, he would want mac and cheese. And he would go to the refrigerator and he would get my cheese out, my block of cheese, for me to cut it for him. And if I would have let him, he'd ate the whole thing. He loved Blimpie. He loved Bubbles. Anytime we could go to the store and get him Bubbles, he just loved them. He was a very happy baby when he was with us.
Okay. And you said that he would spend the night. When he would spend the night, where would he sleep?
Usually we would all make a pallet in the floor, and we would let him watch Blimpie until he fell asleep.
Okay. And what is Blimpie?
It's a cartoon.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
For those that don't have little kids that don't know what Blimpie is, so it's a cartoon.
Yes.
Okay. The children, when they came to your home, were they sent with clothes, food, diapers, things that they would have needed?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So how was that handled?
Well, Zane always come dressed. Several times we got Quentin, and he would be in a long onesie, and he would have poop from all over. I don't want to say a baby didn't smell good, but he smelled like rotten milk. He had rings around his neck. We'd immediately bathe him and put him fresh clothes on.
Okay. Did you keep clothes for him at your house?
I did, because I had to tell Billy Joe that she wasn't sending anything for the kids.
Okay. And did Billy Joe give you money to get clothes?
Yes, we went and got clothes. I took pictures of the clothes and the receipt and sent them to her.
Okay. And so then after that, you just kept clothes at your house?
Yes, I kept half of the clothes there.
Okay. All right. Now that we've covered that, now let's go to the day that Quentin disappeared. So that day, what is the first time you became aware something was out of the ordinary? You said, so that morning, Danny had texted you that the kids were going to stay at home.
Yes.
Did you have, at that point, did you have any more conversation with anybody about that?
No.
Okay. Then what's the next thing you heard from anybody in that family?
Me and my youngest daughter was on the way to McDonald's. Danny calls and asked me, did I get Quentin or have I seen him? And I said, no, why? and he said that Leilani said he was missing. So my kids homeschool. I ran to McDonald's. We come back. I dropped my youngest daughter off, and me and my oldest daughter headed down to Leilani's house.
Okay. Do you remember about what time of the morning this was?
Maybe around 9.
Okay. And so you dropped off food at your house. And how close is your house to theirs?
Caddy corner across the street.
Okay. So y'all are neighbors. You're real close by.
Yes.
So you dropped food off, and then you went over to their house.
Yes.
And what do you drive?
Armada.
And what color is it?
White.
Okay. And when you got there, did you park in the driveway?
I did.
Okay. I'm asking because we've seen some scene photos with a vehicle.
Yes.
And that Armada that's white is your vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you got there, were there any police there yet?
No, ma'am.
All right. What did you do when you got there?
I asked Leilani if I could go in and help her look because Quentin liked to hide. He would hide from us under the bed. Like, he just liked to play like hide and seek. She told me no. Me and my daughter both no. I asked, was the police called? They said no. Danny said no. And I said, why haven't you called the police? And I told her, I said, call the police. And then she did call the police.
When you got there, was Paul outside?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So Paul, did you later see Paul?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But when you got there, it's just Danny and Leilani.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were they?
Under the little carport, they have a little covered carport. There was, like when you pull in their driveway in the back, it's like a little carport.
Okay.
Before you go in to get to the pool and the little play area.
Okay. So are you talking about where cars are parked or like the porch thing behind the house?
When you pull, where the cars are parked, but they was kind of standing out from underneath the carport.
Okay. Sort of in the driveway.
Yes.
Okay. So they're standing in the driveway, and what were they doing?
She was standing there smoking a cigarette one after another. She was like screaming.
Okay. At some point, did the police get called?
Yes.
Okay. Was that immediately after you suggested it or later? What happened?
I would say a couple minutes. I heard her get on the phone and call the police.
Okay. And did the police show up quickly?
Yes.
All right. After the police arrived, what did you do or where did you go?
Paul had come down at that time, and he was letting Zane ride this little car thing. Well, he ended up doing it too fast. Zane fell and slid across the concrete, and I had asked one of the policemen if I could take Zane to my house until all this was kind of, situated, and they told me yes, I could.
Okay. So did you take Zane and go home?
I did.
Okay. And at some point, were you interviewed by law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
When did that happen?
Well, I have cameras, so a gentleman come that worked, and he checked my camera system and asked me questions. And then I was also pulled into the police station by a detective.
Okay. So go do like a formal interview?
Yes.
Okay. During the time that you were keeping the kids, did Leilani ever bring them to you to go somewhere other than work?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, she a couple times she said that she had to run to 204 to go take care of business, and then a couple times we kept them when she was off work that we knew she was going to be off work, but we didn't know what she was doing.
Okay. When she would say she was going to 204, did you know what that meant?
No.
Okay. And how long would she be gone when she said she was going to 204?
Maybe 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay. All right. Give me just a moment, okay? Thank you, Ms. McCarta. That's all the questions that we have, and defense counsel may have some.
Thank you.
I'm Martin Hilliard. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Is it safe to assume that you, prior to October of 2022, already had strong opinions about Leilani's fitness as a mother?
No, sir.
You did not have strong opinions prior to October?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so,
Sorry.
yeah. So you didn't think she was a good mom, and you were fairly vocal about it, and you
I
didn't,
didn't think.
you didn't hesitate to say something about it when it was on your mind, correct?
Yeah, I didn't think she was a good mom. Thought she was a shitty mom.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to ask you, you started watching Quentin in January to February of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
And everything you've just told me, I'm going to ask you what you did, okay?
Okay.
Did you ever make any police reports? You.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you ever make any reports to DFACS? You.
I talked to them. Yes, I did.
That wasn't the question. I asked you if you reported what you were concerned about.
No, because DFAT's got in contact with me.
That's, again,
No, I did not.
you never reached out, and you weren't concerned enough between January and October to do that on your own, were you?
I was very concerned.
But not concerned enough to reach out and make a report.
I didn't have to. They reached out to me.
Okay. Well, that being said, you didn't reach out and make a report, correct?
No, I did not.
All right. So now let's talk about the day to day. So you started watching Zane and Quentin in January to February of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many days a week?
5 to 6.
5 to 6
depending.
days a week. All right. And who was it, and who brought them, and what time would they normally come over to your house in the morning?
Early, around 5:36.
Okay. And who was it that normally brought them?
Danny.
Okay. And in the afternoons, what time would they go home?
4:35.
Okay. And who was it that normally picked them up?
Danny.
Okay. And over the course of this 8 or 10 month period that we're talking about, January or February of 2022 to October of 2022, how many times would Miss Simon be the one that dropped them off or picked them up?
I would say a handful of times.
10? 5?
Maybe 10.
Okay. So out of a possible 10 times a week for...
Oh, not 10 times a week.
No.
I'm sorry.
Just,
Okay.
just let me finish. So drop off in the morning, pick up in the afternoon, that's 2 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's at least 5 days a week. That's 10 times a week, right? Correct?
Yeah, she didn't come. No, not that much.
I understand. What I'm saying
Okay.
is so there's 10 possible or 12 possible drop-offs or pickups in a week for the kids, right?
Since I was keeping them.
Since you were keeping them.
Yes.
And she would maybe do 1 a week. Or
Maybe.
2 a
Yes.
week. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. So it's also a fair statement that Danny was the one who mostly did the dropping off and the picking up, correct?
Absolutely.
And if I understand your testimony correct, it's not uncommon for even if she was asleep for the kids to come stay with you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Danny would be the one that dropped them off even on those days, correct?
Correct.
So Danny was the one who mostly did the dropping off and the picking up and the one that interacted with you.
Yes.
Okay. That's a fair statement.
Yes.
Okay. You also stated a minute ago that it was odd that you would get a text not dropping the kids off.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And that's because even if she was home, she would stay sleeping. Now, who was it that sent you the text on the 5:30 on the morning of October 5th?
Danny.
Okay. And he said the kids were staying home with Leilani, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That was odd, was it not?
Yes, because she never kept them.
Right. Okay. So did that stand out to you as being odd at the time?
No, not. I never thought she would hurt her child. So.
Well, I understand you have your conclusions, but it was odd that Danny texted that to you, though, wasn't it?
No, I don't think it was odd that he texted it to me.
Well, you just say that you can't have it both ways, Ms.
Well,
McCarta.
no, I think it was odd that she kept them because she never did. But I don't think it was odd that Danny texted to me
Okay.
because I had more communication with him than I did her.
Correct, because he was the one who mostly watched the children, correct?
Yes, yes.
And he was the one who mostly took care of the children,
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
So that being said, is 90% of the time, he was the one over there care, custody, and control based on what you observed, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you stated that Quentin would be better off at your house, and y'all kept him a lot of times, correct?
Yes.
All right. And physically, was Quentin thriving?
No. How can a kid thrive that doesn't get shown the love and get food and get everything else that another kid would get? I don't think he was thriving.
Okay. Would you be surprised to find out that medically he was?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Now, whenever you responded that day and you came over to the house, you said it was Danny that called you, but is it possible that you were wrong? It might have been Leilani that called you to come over?
No, Leilani did not call me.
Okay. All right. And whenever you got over there, you said she was screaming and upset, correct?
She was screaming, but she wasn't crying. I feel like that if something was to happen to one of my kids, I would be hysterical, and I would also be out looking for my child.
Miss McCarta, do you understand that different people respond to different stressors in different ways?
I just don't. When something's wrong with one of your children, I think you would respond crying, upset, and looking, and calling 911 first before you call anyone else.
And I'm going to ask you, Miss McCarta, you've already formed opinions about Miss Simon at this point in time, correct?
I have.
Okay. And is it possible that you're projecting those opinions onto what her behavior should be according to you?
Absolutely not.
So you
I
think
do not.
So you think objectively that everybody should act the way you think they should?
No, I don't think everybody should act, but a mother that has children, that you carry them in your stomach by your heart. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't she?
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is you seem to be actually saying, yes, you agree with me. I'm saying you're projecting your opinions and your ideas and your beliefs onto other people.
No.
Is it possible that's what you're doing?
No, it's not possible when I'm not doing that.
Okay. And who was it that paid you every week, you said?
Sometimes Leilani, sometimes Danny. It would come from their different cash apps.
All right. So, but you, again, there are cash app records, and
Mm-hmm.
so, and they were paid, but not necessarily always regularly, but they paid you.
They did.
Okay. And you also mentioned this thing about giving food. Now, were there separate containers for Zane and separate containers for Quentin, or was it one container of food?
It was, she would bring a bag of food home, and it would have, they would both want it, but she would always give Zane first. She would always give it to him first, and she would tell Quentin, stop, wait.
All right. And Zane was the older of the two, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, correct? And how old was Zane at this point in time?
3,
Okay. And how old would Quentin be at this point in time?
10 months maybe.
So, and again, you may have, you may not, but you thought that that was some sort of indicia of preference.
Well, yes, because when you have more than one kid, you would take it inside, you would half it, in plates, and give it to both of them, not just serve one while the other one's crying for the food. You would feed both of them.
Well, Ms. McCarta, I understand that's what you believe, but you understand other people may believe differently and disagree with you.
And that's okay, they can disagree with me, but if you have kids, you have to do it, you should do it a certain way. I mean, you should feed both of them. You'd want both of your kids to eat, not just one while the other one's crying.
Okay, well, but Quentin did get to eat, though, did he not?
Yes, a few minutes later.
All right, but you understand there's a difference between withholding food from a child and feeding the child in a different order than you would do, right?
Yes.
That's all the questions I got, Josh.
Ms. Parker? Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. McCarta, you're excused, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, she may. So, Ms. McCarta, you are excused. You can remain or you can leave.
Thank you.
The state may call its next witness.
Jennie Cox. Hold the witness, please. Your Honor, this is one of the witnesses for which we're asking that the cameras not be worried anymore.
Thank you. Got a thumbs up from
Please declare and raise your right hand.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Jennie Cox.
COX.
Yes, sir.
And what's your spelling of Jennie?
It's Jennie.
Where do you work?
I work at the Chatham County Police Department.
And what is your position there?
I'm currently an agent at the counter narcotics team.
Okay, so like Marion Lemons, you're detailed out to CNT right now?
Yes, sir.
Prior to that detailing, were you a detective with Chatham County Police Department's Criminal Investigations Division?
Yes, sir, I was.
What was the general time period of your being a detective in CID?
I was a detective for about a year, from January of 2021 until about January, February of 2022.
Now, were you a detective in CID during the time period of this investigation?
Yes, sir, I was.
Well, this was October of 2022, right?
Yes, sir.
So I thought you just said you were a detective from January of 2021 to January of 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it would have been January of 2022 to January of 2023.
Okay, thank you. When did you join the Chatham County Police Department to begin with?
I was hired in September of 2020.
And are you from the local area?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. Where are you from?
I was originally born in the Memphis area in Tennessee.
Now, let me draw your attention to October of 2022, the beginning of this investigation, okay?
Yes, sir.
You were a detective at that time.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you about October 5th specifically, and what, if any, involvement you had on that day.
During the day of October 5th of 2022, I originally stayed at our detective's office, which is located at our Islands Precinct on Whitmarsh Island. I assisted with the first search warrant for the residents of 535 Buckhalter Road.
Were you out there with Detective Kiana Robbins, who we heard from a few days ago?
Yes, sir, I was.
And I think we introduced the search warrant for the house into evidence through her. You said you assisted in preparing that.
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you tell us about that?
We gathered the facts that was relayed to us by the detectives who were on scene that day, and we gathered those facts, wrote them up in an affidavit to present the affidavit to the judge to request a search warrant for the residents to gather more evidence.
Now, from the Islands Precinct CID offices, at some point did you go to the Chatham County Police Department headquarters where all of these interviews were being conducted?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you yourself, were you on any of the 3 interview teams that we've heard about?
No, sir, I was not.
Did you have any interaction with any of the three people who were there for interviews, Danny, Paul, or the defendant?
Yes, I did sit with the three of them at different times just while the interviews were being conducted.
And did you go to the scene that day, to 535 Buckhalter? I shouldn't call it the scene, I'll call it the residence. Did you go out there at any point?
No, sir, I didn't.
Moving on to October 6th, did you have any involvement in the investigation on that day?
Yes, sir. I wrote another search warrant and affidavit for a vehicle infotainment system for the vehicle belonging to Miss Simon, which was a 2015 Dodge Journey.
And I think we're about to get into this. Is it fair to say that the bulk of your involvement involved preparing affidavits and seeking and obtaining search warrants?
Yes, sir.
And who was primarily directing you on what information and premises to get search warrants for?
It was primarily the case team, including Detective Lemons.
Okay, so you were primarily providing assistance with search warrants.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's go through some of those. But before we do the search warrant stuff, I want to ask you this. Were you involved in an interview of Henry Bubba Moss Jr.?
Yes, sir, I was.
And was that on October 6th?
Yes, sir.
Did you also interview his girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
And where did those interviews take place?
Those occurred at the Chatham County Police Department headquarters at our annex.
And how were those arranged?
I believe someone made contact with Henry Moss, and he traveled to meet with us to speak with us regarding the investigation.
And where was he living at that time?
I think it was somewhere near Augusta, a couple of hours away.
Was that also the case for his girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
And did they come down willingly and talk to you?
Yes, sir, they did.
And that was on October 6th?
Yes, sir.
So let's get back to these search warrants. Do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 39?
Yes, I do.
Take a look at that and tell us whether you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us what that document is?
This is the order for the search warrant affidavit for the infotainment system for the vehicle that I just spoke about.
Take another look at it. Well, do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 40?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Look at those documents alongside of each other. Okay. Are those different documents?
Yes, they are.
Okay. What is 39 and what is 40?
39 is the search warrant for the vehicle, and 40 is the search warrant for the infotainment system.
Okay. 39, the search warrant for the vehicle itself.
Yes, sir.
Who actually executed that search warrant?
It was the Chatham County Police Department forensics team.
Okay. But you obtained the search warrant itself?
Yes, sir.
Is this a fair and accurate copy of the warrant that you obtained?
Yes, sir, it is.
I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 39.
Judge, can I look at it real quick? Just to make sure. I don't think I have it. No objection, Judge.
39 is admitted without objection.
Tell us again what State's Exhibit 40 is.
It is the search warrant for the infotainment system for the vehicle.
And we've heard a little bit of testimony about that, but is that an accurate copy of the infotainment search warrant?
Yes, sir.
When did you obtain that search warrant?
This was on October 6th of 2022.
Was this at the same time as you got the search warrant for the vehicle itself?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. From the same judge?
Yes, sir.
I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 40.
Having reviewed the exhibit, Judge, no objection.
Okay, it is admitted without objection.
Now, what were y'all trying to do with this infotainment search warrant?
So essentially, infotainment search warrant is just a search warrant for the information system within the vehicle. That information system can give data to us, like GPS location, when the vehicle stops, when the doors open on the vehicle, speeds on the vehicle. It can also provide information like the odometer, and if a phone is hooked up to the information system, like a Bluetooth phone, it'll say what calls were made, what text messages were made. So everything that would be within an information system within a vehicle.
Now, can you get infotainment data from every make and model of vehicle?
No, you can't.
And were you able to get it from the vehicle at issue in this case, the what year?
2015.
2015 Dodge Journey?
No, sir, we were not.
But you tried.
We tried, yes, sir.
Is it that you weren't able to pull it, or that data just doesn't exist and isn't able to be obtained on that vehicle?
It was not able to be obtained on that vehicle.
Okay. Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 41?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
It is a search warrant for Life 360.
And who obtained that search warrant?
I did.
It's a search warrant addressed to the company Life 360, right?
Yes, sir.
And what were you asking for?
I was requesting data from the Life 360 account from Ms. Leilani Simon and also Mr. Daniel Youngkin. The information that can be provided is location data. Also, there is a way to chat on the application, so you can send messages to people you're sharing your data with. And it also will detect speed, and if you're instantly braking or any driving data, it'll provide. So that's what I was requesting, along with subscriber information for both of these accounts.
And how did you identify these accounts in the warrant?
The accounts were identified by phone numbers.
And what was the phone number that you had in there for Daniel Youngkin's Life 360 data?
It was 910-729-1458.
And what about the defendants?
912-547-5275.
This is a fair and accurate copy of your Life 360 search warrant.
Yes, sir.
I would introduce this as States Exhibit 41.
Having reviewed the judge, no objection.
Okay, you just admitted without objection.
How did you serve that warrant on Life 360?
I emailed it to Life 360 to their legal team.
And did you receive responsive records in response to that search warrant?
Yes, I did.
And how did they send them to you?
They sent them to me by email in a zip file.
Did you download that and save it?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you provide it to Detective Lemons and the case team?
Yes, sir.
Did you provide it to Taylor Burns of the FBI?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you see in front of you an item labeled States Exhibit 42?
Yes, sir.
Can you open that? It's an envelope, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you open it up and take a look at the contents? What do you have there in your hand?
I have a disk with the Life 360 data that was provided and a certification of the records from Life 360.
Your Honor, I would call for this as States Exhibit 42.
Can I approach and look at the affidavit real quick, Judge? Thank you. No objection to States 42, Judge. It does seem to be a certification with this effect.
Mr. 42 is admitted without objection.
And that disc contains the records that you provided to the case team and to Taylor Burns.
Yes, sir.
At some point, did Detective Lemons ask you to help out with getting some of Quentin Simon's historical medical records?
Yes, sir, she did.
And did you do that?
I did.
Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 43 and a document marked as States Exhibit 44?
Yes.
Take a look at those two documents. Take as much time as you need, because I understand I'm asking you to look at a lot of things, because you did a lot of things. And let me know when you're ready to talk about those two documents, okay?
I'm ready.
All right. What is 43?
43 is medical records from Flowers Hospital.
Just to be clear, is it the medical records themselves or is it the search warrant for them?
Is the search warrant for the medical records.
Okay. From where now?
From Flowers Hospital.
And what about 44?
And 44 is the search warrant for medical records for St. Joseph's Candler Hospital.
Now, did you obtain these two search warrants?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when did you obtain these?
These were on October 17th of 2022.
And did you serve them on those two, one Flowers Hospital and one St. Joe's Candler?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The 43 and 44, are they accurate copies of those two warrants you got?
Yes, they are.
I would introduce these as States Exhibit 43 and 44, Your Honor.
No objection to either, Judge. I review both.
Okay, it says exhibits 43 and 44 admitted without objection.
After you served them on these two hospitals, did each of them provide responsive records to you?
Yes, sir, they did.
Medical records of Quentin Simon?
Yes.
Did you provide those records to Agent Lemons and the case team?
Yes, I did.
Now, do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 45?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what is that?
This is a search warrant to Verizon for phone records pertaining to Daniel Youngkin's cell phone.
And what is the phone number that y'all had for Daniel Youngkin?
It's 910-729-1458.
Is this another thing that then Detective, now Agent Lemons, asked you to take care of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you did it?
Yes.
Okay. When did you get this search warrant?
This was on October 28th of 2022.
Now, I don't know whether you know the answer to this or not, but had the case team already obtained those phones to an emergency request to Verizon?
Yes, sir.
And the purpose of this search warrant was just to circle back around and get them in a more formal manner?
Yes.
Okay. Same records in any case, though?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as States Exhibit 45.
No objection, Judge.
And 45 is admitted without objection.
Now, did you serve that warrant on Verizon?
I did.
And how did you do that?
I emailed it to Verizon.
Did they have like a law enforcement email address where they receive search warrants or something like that?
Yes, sir.
Do you see in front of you States Exhibit 47? I'm skipping 46 for a moment. 47.
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is for the cell phone records. It was addressed to Verizon for Paul Simon.
All right, so this is a search warrant for Paul's cell phone records?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when did you obtain this search warrant?
It was the same day on October 28th of 2022.
Okay, so October 28th is the day you get search warrants for Danny and Paul's cell phone records?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you serve this search warrant on Verizon?
Yes, I did.
And in response to these two search warrants, did Verizon provide you with responsive records?
Yes, they did.
Do you see in front of you an object marked as States Exhibit 46?
Yes, sir.
And I hope I'm not confused you here by going out of order, but if you could open that up and tell us what's in there.
This is a disc containing the records from Daniel Youngkin's cell phone, from Verizon, the cell phone records.
Okay, so, and does it contain a certificate of authenticity from a business record certificate from Verizon?
Yes, sir, it does.
All right, so 46 is the search warrant for Daniel Youngkin's Verizon records, and 46 is the records themselves that you got back?
Yes.
Okay. What's the area code on that number?
The area code is 910.
Okay. And that's a North Carolina area code?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 48, and actually go ahead and put all that stuff back in the envelope so we don't start stuffing it up. then let's go on to 48. Do you recognize the contents of State's Exhibit 48?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
This is the letter of authenticity and also the cell phone records on a disc for Paul Simon's phone.
Okay. And that's the 912-658-6410?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I would introduce, I've kind of lost my place here, but I would offer the evidence 45, 46, 47, 48.
Can I approach the witness and look at the?
Yes.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 46. It's the disc of Verizon records, and it has a certificate of authenticity. So the defense has no objection as to 46. As to State's Exhibit 48, having reviewed the same, it has the same thing. State's Exhibit 48 has a disc with the business records and the certificate of authenticity, so we lodge no objection to that either. My recollection is that 45 and 47 were search warrants, which I've already looked at. We have no objection to those either. I think that covers all four exhibits.
It does. State's Exhibits 45, 46, 47, 48 are admitted without objection.
Let me know when you're ready to move on, okay?
Okay. I'm ready.
Those phone records that we just talked about, both sets of them, once you received them, did you forward them to Detective Lemons?
Yes, I did.
And did you forward them to Taylor Burns of the FBI as well?
Yes.
Now, sometime later in October, were you asked to obtain a couple of search warrants for DNA?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about that?
They were requested from the FBI to compare against DNA of any remains found in the landfill.
And whose DNA were you asked to get search warrants for?
Miss Leilani Simon and her mother, Billy Joe Howell.
And did you obtain search warrants for their DNA?
Yes, sir.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 49 and 50? Do you recognize those documents?
Yes, sir.
What are those?
These are the search warrants for Leilani Simon's DNA and Billy Joe Howell's DNA.
And did you obtain those search warrants?
Yes, sir.
What date did you obtain those search warrants?
That was on October 28th of 2022.
Are these fair and accurate copies of those two search warrants?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would introduce these as States 49 and 50.
Having reviewed both exhibits, Judge, no objection.
Okay, 49 and 50 are admitted.
Now, did you yourself serve these search warrants, or I guess execute them?
Are you talking about the DNA search warrants?
Yeah.
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Somebody else actually got the swabs and all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You mentioned that you were present at Chatham County Police Headquarters for a period of time October 5th,
Yes, sir.
day one of the investigation.
Yes, sir.
And were you aware that a phone had been seized from each one of the defendant, Danny Youngkin and Paul Simon,
Yes.
and that phone extractions had been performed at the Chatham County Police Department?
Yes.
At some point, were you involved in the transport of the defendant's phone for a second phone extraction?
Yes.
Can you tell us what your involvement in that was?
I transported the phone to Savannah Police Department's forensic examiner, Mr. Williams, or Officer Williams, and he performed a second extraction on the cell phone.
What type of extraction did he perform?
It's a gray key extraction, and it's just a different program, different from Cellbrite that was extracted at the Chatham County Police Department that oftentimes can do further extraction and provide more data.
Now, when you said you did this with the phone,
Yes, sir.
I want to clarify which phone we're talking about.
It was Leilani Simon's phone.
Okay. And when was it that you took the defendant's phone to Officer Williams of the Savannah Police Department for the gray key extraction?
That was on October 7th of 2022.
Do you remember who you got it from to take it over there in the first place?
I believe it was from Sergeant Coleman.
Okay. And he's with Chatham County Police Forensics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you took it to Officer Williams of the Savannah Police Department?
Yes.
Did he perform a gray key extraction of the defendant's phone?
Yes, he did.
And did he provide that extraction to you?
Yes, he did.
And how did he provide it to you? Would it have been like a disk or a thumb drive or something like that?
I don't recall exactly what kind of device it was on, but it was something of a USB or a drive.
Some sort of digital storage media?
Yes, sir.
Did he give you the phone back as well?
Yes, sir, he did.
And did you take those two items back to the case team?
Yes, I did.
Did you make that gray key extraction available to Detective Lemons?
Yes.
And did you make it available to Taylor Burns of the FBI?
Yes, sir.
Were you involved in any of the canvas operations, the neighborhood canvas operations that we've heard a little bit about?
Yes, sir, I was.
Can you tell us about which one you were involved in?
I was involved in the canvas of Azalea Mobile Homes.
And what was your specific involvement?
I was serving as an interpreter. Most of the residents of Azalea Mobile Homes don't speak English, they speak Spanish.
And I take it you speak Spanish as well?
Yes, sir.
One moment, please, okay? No further questions, Your Honor.
Just a few questions. I'm going to ask a generalized question, and I might kind of get back down if I need to, but I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You mostly did the search warrants and collected the records that we've discussed here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you did the search warrants for the DNA, but you didn't do the collection on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you did a canvas of the Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Yes, sir.
What day was that?
I don't recall. I know it was the Sunday following when the investigation started, but I don't recall the exact date.
And that's fine. But that was pretty much the extent of your involvement in the case that I'm aware of and that Mr. Dean's asked you about, correct?
Yes, sir. I just kind of served as a assistance role throughout the investigation.
And that's all I wanted to make sure of. So you took the records and passed it on to Detective Lemons or Taylor Burns, correct?
Yes, sir.
Didn't do any interpretation or other than that?
No, sir.
Same thing with the phone extraction. You just collected the data and turned it over, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I got, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, thank you. Mr. Keeney, no redirect at this point.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you may step down.
Thank you, Judge.
May she be excused?
She certainly may. Thank you. we're about an hour and 15 minutes in. Jurors, would you like take a break at this point? Okay, let's do that. Let's take a 15-minute break. It's about 10:20. Let's reconvene 10:35.
Jury is exiting.
Thank you. All right, we're in recess until 10:35. Thank you.
All right, so you just heard the judge say that the court is in recess until 10:35, and since we're on a 10-minute delay, you can expect us to return around 11:05. It's about 10:50 right now, so that'll be about 15 minutes. So stay tuned. We'll bring it back up as soon as they return.
bring Ms. Simon out. How you doing, Peter? Good. Hi, Grace. Hey, Bill.
All right, they're heading back into the courtroom, so we'll head back to the live stream.
Y'all are very professional, though. Record in SPCR 22-03364J6. Ms. Simon is present with her counsel, and state's attorneys are present at their table as well. The jurors are out of the courtroom at this point. Is there anything that we need to take up before we bring them in?
Nothing for the defense, Judge. I was just going to kind of go ahead and broach the subject because you know me, I can't keep my mouth shut. Scheduling today, it's been a long week.
It's
And
been a long week.
I was going to see if we can get through the next few witnesses the state has, if we might could maybe leave a little early today. I'm just tired, and a lot of this is going to be ministerial stuff, and I know if I'm getting tired and Tim's getting tired, and I'm fairly certain the jury's getting tired too, so I don't really have a set time in mind, just have a few witnesses, and I was just asking if we might could do that, that's all.
I can tell you, I don't have a set time in mind either. I wasn't going to push it hard today. We're going to get through as many witnesses as we can get through today. Pushing it today is not going to make anything any faster next week. And I understand it really needs to be sustainable for the jurors, number one in my mind, and of course you folks who are actually doing the work. Mr. Dean?
Well, having now sensed weakness, I would ask to go to like 9, 10 o'clock tonight. We have like 3 more people, 3, maybe 4 people that we want to get through today, and I don't think that'll take us past 5 o'clock or so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
We'll see how it unfolds. All right, please bring in the jurors.
Jurors Insumer, or pleasure.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please have a seat. And were you able to comply with the court's instructions not to discuss the case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hinchey? You may call your next witness.
Deshaun Williams. Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yeah, Corporal Deshaun Williams, Savannah Police Department Forensics Unit.
Normal spelling of Williams?
Yes. Williams.
I was trying to cut out that step for you.
Gotcha.
Now we're all very clear on that. How do you spell your first name?
Dusean.
How long have you been with the Savannah Police Department?
Going on 11 years.
And how long have you been with the Savannah Police Department Forensics Unit?
About six, 7 years.
What's your position in the forensics unit at this point?
Digital forensics.
And were you with I guess you were with the forensics unit in October of 2022?
I was.
Do part of your duties include performing cell phone extractions?
It does.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So pretty much we have a unit called Gray Key, and it is iPhone specific. It gains access to any iPhone in its operating system, and we're able to get extraction based off the Gray Key unit.
Can you just walk us through kind of briefly the steps? Somebody comes to you with a cell phone, a detective comes to you with a cell phone, and they want a Gray Key extraction done. What do you do?
So what I do, I take that iPhone, I hook it up to the Gray Key unit. The Gray Key unit gets access to the operating system and the file systems that's on the phone, and it makes a hard copy of everything that's on that phone. It then produces a zip file along with a PDF report, a keychain, and a password list.
What's the keychain?
Keychain is pretty much a file that holds all the password tokens that is stored on the phone.
And what do you then do when you've pulled all that data from the phone? What do you do with it?
Typically, I would put it into a physical analyzer, and what the physical analyzer does, it decrypts all the information that's in the zip file and the keychain and make it into a readable format. But in this case, I believe the detective just wanted the extraction itself, along with the PDF reports and keychains and password list.
And in this case, did you give the detective the extraction that you had performed?
I did.
What is it, on a thumb drive or something?
It
like
is.
That? Okay. Let's talk about the who and the when. When did you perform the Gray Key extraction in this case that you're talking about?
October 7th.
And who was it that provided the phone to you to do the Gray Key extraction?
Detective Cox.
Jennie Cox?
Correct.
Okay. And did she identify the phone to you as that of the defendant?
She did.
What type of phone was it? Not necessarily like the model number and everything, but just generally.
A Apple iPhone XS Max.
And where did you conduct this Gray Key extraction?
At the forensics unit, 78 Ross Road.
And you turned around the resulting data to her?
Correct.
Okay. Did you give her the phone back as well?
I did.
All right. Do you see in front of you an object marked as States Exhibit 51?
Yes.
That is an envelope, right?
Right.
Do you know what's in that envelope?
USB device.
And what's on that USB device?
The Gray Key extraction.
Is it the same files that you pulled off of the defendant's phone on October 7, 2022 and gave to Detective Cox?
Correct.
I expect we're going to hear testimony from Sergeant Coleman of the Chatham County Police Department that he had already performed a Cellbrite extraction on this phone. What is the difference, just high level, right, because none of us are forensics officers, between the Cellbrite extraction that you performed and the Gray Key extraction that you did a couple days later?
So Gray Key is made specifically with iPhone in mind, so it's able to gain access to files that UFED or Cellbrite is not able to gain access to because its developers specifically focus on iPhone itself.
I would introduce at this time States Exhibit 51 in the evidence, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted without objection.
One moment, please. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Williams, you just stated a minute ago, Officer Williams, that Gray Key is iPhone specific and Cellbrite is not. What are the differences between the two? I mean, what's like a file that a Cellbrite would extract or not extract that a Gray Key would?
Well, one that I can think of offhand is the keychain that it can extract. It can bypass the operating systems on a iPhone better than the Cellbrite because, like I said, the developers of the Gray Key unit put more specifics on the iPhone itself.
So, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just genuinely trying to understand. So it sounds to me like a Cellbrite extraction would get a lot less material than a Gray Key extraction would get.
Typically.
Okay. And is that the reason for running the Gray Key extraction is to get more specific?
To an iPhone, yes.
Okay. And when you do these extractions, I assume you just plug it into a USB device or some other port, and the computers do what they do. And
so I actually hooked the phone up to the Gray Key unit based off the port that's connected to an iPhone. So I believe it's a USB-C now. So Gray Key has a USB-C that I can connect that phone to the Gray Key unit.
And it just generates this report, and that's it. And then you send it along to the detective or whoever you send it to,
It
right?
gains access to the files on the phone, and it does give me a zip file that contains all that data from the phone.
And what I'm trying to narrow down is basically when you do the extraction, you take the phone, you plug it in, you do the extraction, you get a hard drive, and you pass it along, correct?
Correct.
That's the extent of your involvement in
Right.
this. All right. Did you review any of the extraction on this or just forward it like you normally do?
I just forwarded it to the detective that needed it.
That's all the questions I got. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Any redirect, Mr. Dean?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Ms. McCann?
Okay, the state may call its next witness.
Sergeant Gary Scott Coleman.
Raise your right hand and face the clerk.
The evidence you shall give the court and the jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, sir. My name is Sergeant Gary Scott Coleman. I work for the Chatham County Police Department. I am the supervisor of their crime scene unit. I started police work in 2002. This is my 23rd year. I have been doing forensic work since 2009. I was one of the two supervisors of Chatham County, Savannah-Chatham County Metro PD after the demerger. Because I was a previous county employee, I came back to start up the new county police, and that's where I've been since.
And in October of 2022, were you heading up the Chatham County Police Department's forensics unit?
Yes, sir, I was.
Who did you have under you?
At that time, had Corporal Philip Schenker. A Corporal Matthew Diggins had just started on Monday, and this was a Wednesday, so he was brand new. And I had a Corporal Michelle Shiro, who her last day was Friday, so I wasn't using her for that.
Now, did the forensics unit? Well, let me ask you just a couple more questions about your background.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what, if any, training you have in the acquisition of digital evidence and analysis of digital evidence?
Yes, sir. I have a certification from the Department of Homeland Security. FLETC is what they call it down in Brunswick. They like to use a lot of acronyms, so it's Digital Evidence Acquisition Specialist. I also have a certification through Department of Homeland Security in Glencoe in seized computer evidence recovery as well.
Now, every time you use an acronym, I'm going to have to ask you for the record what it stands for. What is FLETC? People may know.
FLETC is the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia, which is right near Brunswick.
Okay. Let's go back to October 5th.
Yes, sir.
Did your forensics unit respond to 535 Buckhalter that day?
Yes, sir, we did.
And were you there in a supervisory capacity over what forensics was doing?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us the various things that you all did out there that day?
The main objective that day, because it was a missing child, was the department owns several drones. Myself and one other of my investigators has their FAA license to fly drone. We figured we could cover a lot more area. It borders Hunter Army Airfield. If you go a little bit further down Buckhalter, I had to call the Hunter Air Tower to see if we could clear the air because, the military doesn't really like anybody telling them what to do. So, but we got the air cleared so we could search. Batteries in these drones, they drain very fast. We have 4 sets and they do not charge very fast. So the mission lasted about an hour. It's equipped with a thermal device as well. We use the thermal during the day, and we were not able to locate anybody. So we packed up and left.
At some point when you were out there, did y'all document the premises with photographs and so forth?
Corporal Schenker did.
Okay. Now, did you go to Chatham County Police Department headquarters?
Yes, after I left the scene.
And was that where the defendant and Daniel Youngkin and Paul Simon were being interviewed?
Yes, I was aware they were in the building.
Just for the record, is that building where they were interviewed on October 5th, is that in Chatham County?
Yes, sir, it is.
While you were present at Chatham County Police Department headquarters, were you asked to conduct any digital evidence acquisition?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I believe it was Detective Cox, Detective Jennie Cox, brought me 3 phones. She identified them as the defendant's phone, Paul Simon's phone, and Daniel's phone. We had a machine called, it's a company called Cellbrite. You probably heard that already. That company specializes in extracting certain kinds of information from cell phones. Detective Cox informed me they had gotten verbal consent to search the phones, and I went ahead and extracted all 3 of them, and then provided them back to Detective Cox when I was finished with them.
Now, how did you go about conducting the Cellbrite extractions on this phone? Can you just at a high level kind of walk us through the process?
So when you get a phone, it's always really good to have the code, and I believe they had provided the codes. The machine, it's basically like plugging it into a charger, for lack of a better. The machine is a box about that big. It also works with software on a computer, so it's plugged into a computer, and it will select the make and the model of the phone if it's in the catalog. Otherwise, you have to manually include it to put it in. Once you do that, you basically, there's a lot of technical stuff that you get into, but you make a folder, you tell the computer where you want the extraction to go, and you push the button and it does it. It does the magic.
And then you said you turn those extractions around to the
Yes.
detectives?
So typically what I do is when I perform an extraction, it comes out as a UFD file. If you're familiar with Microsoft or what have you, it'll come out as a .doc file, like a doc file, or an Excel spreadsheet's a .excel file. This will come out as a .ufd. It's a proprietary that Cellbrite, the company, has. Typically, I will do as my workflow, other people might do it differently, but my workflow is I will go ahead and initiate a report. The machine then goes ahead and does a UFD report. A lot of our detectives at our department like to be able to work off the computer instead of looking at a 400-page PDF document. So that's what we do. We go ahead and just do the report on a UFD file. They come and bring us a jump drive or a small, external drive, and we then copy it over there, an exact copy over there.
When a detective gets one of these Cellbrite extractions from you and opens up the UFD file, because we've been talking all about this, but we haven't actually seen it.
Yeah.
What are they looking at? Like, what does it look like to go through a cell phone extraction as a detective?
So there is a reader program that the Cellbrite will put into the folders, and think about it like Adobe Reader. Okay, like you might not have the full-blown version of Adobe Acrobat, but you'll have the Adobe Reader. It's a light version. It comes up as kind of a dashboard. It shows, the phone, what it looks like, the make, the model, serial number, phone number. There are a few other identifier numbers that the carrier uses to identify that number on their network so they can bill you properly. But they're very specific numbers. And then on the left-hand side of the computer screen, you'll see such things as the calendar, and you can click on calendar, and it'll show you if anybody had put calendar invites or booked any dates. MMS for multimedia messages. We call it texting. Things used to be SMS texting where you couldn't send pictures and stuff, but if you have an Android, it's generally green. If you have an iPhone, it's blue. You can text pictures, things like that. That's why we call it multimedia.
Now, do you see in front of you an object marked as States Exhibit 52?
Yes.
Do you know what's in that envelope?
Yes, it is believe it to be a thumb drive that says Cellbrite Extractions. It has my last name. It has my initials and the date of 10/4/24.
And is that the date that you reviewed the contents of that thumb drive?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what is on that thumb drive?
This is, it's a dump of one of the 3 phones that I did.
Is it one or is it all 3 of them? And we can, if you need to plug it into the computer, we can do that.
I could do it if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, come on down. now reviewed the contents of State's Exhibit 52?
Yes, sir, I have.
Can you tell us what's on it?
Yes, it is the extraction of Leilani Simon, Paul Simon, and Daniel Youngkin's cell phones.
And are those the extractions that you performed on October 5th?
Yes, sir.
And are those the extractions that you turned around to the detectives?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer this as State's Exhibit 52.
No objection.
52 is admitted without objection.
Now, do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 53?
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you flip through that and let me know when you're ready to talk about it?
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
It's actually the first page that what I was describing a few minutes ago. It's the first page that you'll look at on a UFD reader after you've extracted a phone. I can see that it is, the first page is an Apple iPhone XS Max. The Apple ID is simonleilani2@gmail.com. The second is a Android SM S134DL. Samsung likes to use weird things for their phone names. It does not appear to have, because it's not an Apple, it doesn't have an email address associated with it. It's an Android phone.
Can you tell the phone number of that phone from looking at that screenshot? Do you see a field on there, MSISDN?
That's it. 910, you have to forgive me, my eyes are not what they used to be. 910-729-1458.
So would that be the screenshot of Daniel, first opening frame of Daniel Youngkin's?
Yes, it's a Samsung.
And then what about the third page?
The third is another Android operating system phone. It is a Motorola G Pure. The phone number is 912-658-6410.
And would that be Paul's?
That is going to be Paul Simon's phone.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 53.
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Burris.
I want to publish these and just briefly have you kind of walk us on to where you're seeing this stuff, okay?
Okay.
This is the first page. We're going to zoom way in. In this pink box right here, do you see some dates there?
Yes, sir.
What do those dates refer to?
Those are the dates when the extraction started and then when the extraction was over with.
All right, and we see October 5th there.
Yes, sir.
And this is for which phone now?
This is for the iPhone XX Max, which I believe was Leilani Simon's phone.
All right, moving down a little bit. The Apple ID indicates as much.
Yes, you have to include an email address. If anybody's familiar with Apple, you have to have an Apple ID. It's an Apple, an email address associated with it.
All right, and is there somewhere on this list of identifiers where we can see what the phone number is?
Yes, right there, the MSISDN. It's area code 912-547-5275.
Okay. In this bit, it says examiner name.
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
That would be me.
Move on to the second page. This also indicates that this extraction was performed on the 5th
Yes, sir, it does.
by you.
Yes, sir.
And the MSISDN,
It is 910-729-458.
1458.
1458. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I should have zoomed in more for you. MSISDN is essentially the phone number.
Yes, sir. It's the carrier phone number.
And slide 3, also October 5th.
Yes, sir, it is.
Also you as the examiner.
Yes, sir.
And phone number here is
912-658-6410.
okay. All right. Were you involved in the collection of some video footage in this case?
Yes, sir, I was.
And have you prepared a presentation that stitches together some of the relevant video?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you go out and collect video, are you collecting only the relevant 1 or 2 minutes, or are you collecting like a broader swath?
We can have a range the detectives will have us pull. I typically will do an hour before, an hour after, just in case we don't catch something. But through detective information, we were able to kind of narrow down a time frame a little bit less.
Now, the presentation that you've prepared, where does it contain video footage from? What locations?
It contains footage from Azalea Mobile Home Park. First of all, the rental, I guess the mobile home, which is used as a rental home office, and Real Time Auto,
Just New Ride Auto?
New Ride Auto, that is it.
So
Ride Auto.
those are the 2 locations that we're going to see footage from?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you see in front of you an exhibit marked as State's Exhibit 54?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you tell from the envelope what that is?
Yes.
What is that?
These are copies of videos that we pulled from Azalea Mobile Home Park.
All right. And what about State's Exhibit 56?
This is the New Ride Auto video with a certificate inside of it from the owner saying that it was properly working.
Your Honor, I would introduce these exhibits as 54 and 56.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, continue to place 54 and 56 are admitted.
All right. So those exhibits are just the raw copy of all the surveillance footage that you collected from those places,
Yes, sir.
which may be on the order of hours.
Yes.
Now, 57, what is that? States Exhibit 57. And actually, I think up there was
57A.
57A and 57B.
This is the PowerPoint, the presentation that was put together, a disc.
Okay, and what about 57B? Is it just a printout of this?
It is a printout of the presentation.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about the components of this PowerPoint presentation, okay? Does it include video clips from these two locations from the relevant time period?
Yes, sir, it does.
Does it include some photographs of these, of azalea that were taken by your forensics unit?
Yes, sir, it does.
And does it include some screenshots from Google Maps to help orient the jury on where these cameras are located and which direction they're pointing?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I would introduce this as States Exhibit 57.
No objection.
57 is admitted without objection.
All right, and I would ask to publish at this time, Your Honor.
You may do so.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this, can you just kind of summarize broadly for us
Yes, sir.
what this presentation and the video footage contained in it are going to show as to the defendant's movement shortly after 1 a.m. on October 5th?
Yes, sir, I can. Would it help to stand our point?
Sure. Yeah, you can stand
Okay.
up, gentlemen.
So the video is concentrated in this area right here.
I'm just gonna ask the surgeon,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
can just be mindful of keeping your voice up. We have
Yes,
Miss
ma'am.
Natalie trying to get
Sorry
your name
about
down.
This is the area that the video was collected from. The new Bride Auto is almost right on the corner of Buckhalter and 17 or Beachy Road. The way the Google map did it was it took you to the center of Azalea Mobile Home Park, but the office is approximately right here.
And what's it going to show in terms of what that vehicle did? Just tight summary.
It shows it come in. It shows it come in the main road and continue down. And we lose track of it. It goes out of frame somewhere in here. And then we pick up a vehicle over on the exit. And then we see it come and then exit Azalea Mobile Home Park. It makes a left-hand turn, makes another left-hand turn at Buckhalter Road where New Ride Auto is about right here. They had a camera pointing this way, and you can see it head south on Buckhalter.
Back in the direction of 535 Buckhalter?
Yes, sir.
Now, is this video footage going to show that vehicle stationary at the dumpsters for any period of time during that trip?
Yes, sir.
For about how long, give or take?
Could have been 35, 45 seconds.
1 moment, please. All right, so with that preview, slide 1, what are we looking at here? What does this show?
So this is just an overall map of the area from 535 Buckhalter Road to Azalea Mobile Home Park. Google Maps is estimating that it takes 7 minutes and 2.7 miles.
Buckhalter Road is the L shape here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so even though there's a turn there, does it remain Buckhalter Road?
Yes, sir. It's a pretty sizable dog leg to the right.
Now, this road running kind of diagonal in the top left, this larger road, what is that?
That is Ogeechee Road. Some people call it it's a U.S. Highway 17, but a lot of the locals call it Ogeechee Road.
You said that the video footage is concentrated in this area at the top, like the Buckhalter Ogeechee Road intersection?
Yes, sir.
Now, moving on to the next slide, where have we moved here?
So this is the intersection of Buckhalter Road and Highway 17 or Ogeechee Road. That is where the New Ride Auto is approximately right here. There is my Spanish isn't good. It's a Hispanic restaurant and grocery store right here.
Okay.
And then you head down and take a right at 4711 to go past a Chevron station that's right here, and that takes you directly into Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Now, the next slide, does this slide show the locations of the buildings from which you obtained the video footage?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. And can we see Ogeechee Road in this image?
Yes, it is the 4-lane with a divider running almost horizontally at the top of the screen.
And do you see the marker there for New Ride Auto?
Yes, sir.
Is that Buckhalter Road immediately to the left of that?
Yes, sir, that is. It's running north and south at that point from the vantage point you have.
Now, can we see the chevron in this image?
Yes, sir.
And where is it? I'm sorry to keep asking
It's all
you
right.
to get up, but that might be the easiest way to do it.
So this is the Chevron convenience store. These are the gas pumps for the Chevron station. Again, the store, the gas pumps for the Chevron station.
Okay, for the record, that's, trying to think of the best way to do this. That would be above the left side of the yellow marker for the Azalea Management Office. If you go along the left side of that marker and go up, you see the white square, and that's the Chevron. And then above that is the parking lot and pumps for the Chevron.
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, this next slide, what intersection is this?
This is the intersection of Buckhalter Road, which is running north and south vertically across the screen. That is Ogeechee Road, Highway 17 running horizontally.
And do you see that structure with the yellow arrow pointing off of it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Now, that yellow arrow is something that we added, right, in PowerPoint?
Yes.
And what does that arrow signify?
That arrow signifies a camera that is mounted on that building.
And what is that building again?
That is a New Ride Auto.
Where does that camera point?
It points towards the primarily Buckhalter Road on the corner of the intersection.
Okay.
And the entrance to Buckhalter.
Now, this next slide, again, we backed out to where we see both of the structures that we're going to talk about footage from, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in the next slide, you mentioned that you got camera footage from cameras mounted on the management shed at Azalea.
Yes.
I've now advanced again, so we see one arrow on the left side kind of pointing up. Do you see how that arrow is sort of on the edge of a white structure?
Yes, sir.
What is that white structure?
The white structure is the rental office for Azalea Mobile Home Park.
And what does that yellow arrow signify?
It is pointing in the direction of the camera, which we downloaded video from.
Okay, so does this yellow arrow signify one of the cameras from which you obtained video footage at that place?
Yes, sir.
Now, the monitoring system where you can look at the footage from these cameras, where is that?
It is located inside the rental office.
The same building that the cameras are hanging off of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've advanced again, now we see a second yellow arrow pointing more or less in the other direction, right?
Yes, sir.
What does this arrow signify?
So this arrow signifies a second camera that is pointed down the entrance road to Azalea Mobile Home Park.
All right, so we're at 2 Azalea cameras now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you were to travel, south on that road, would you pass through the frame of one camera and into the frame of another pretty much immediately?
Yes, sir. They're very close together.
I've advanced again, and now we see a third arrow pointing kind of like down and to the right and down a little bit on this slide. What does that arrow signify?
That is the third camera that we pulled video from. If you follow the arrow down and to the right, you might see this. You might see this greenish area, this brownish area.
Like in the extreme bottom right?
Yes, sir.
Frame.
Yes, sir.
And what is there?
That is where the waste collection point is, the dumpsters for the community.
What is this? You see this? What looks like a white car here?
Yes.
All right. And then above that, the white structure that you've described as the management office, I think?
Yes, sir.
What is this sort of triangular area here?
It's kind of a maintenance yard. They appear to keep maintenance equipment in there, what have you, skid steers, just different types of maintenance equipment.
And is this yard bounded by a fence?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe that fence?
I call it a hurricane fence. It's a metal fence. And of note was that it had some green slats running through it.
And this triangular yard here, just north of that white maintenance shed, what's it bounded by on the other side of the fence?
Show me.
What is this here?
Oh, that is the exit road to Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Okay, so is it fair to say that if you want to come into Azalea, you come down this road here?
Yes.
On the left?
Yes.
And then if you want to get out, you can go out this way?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Is this a one-way street or a two-way street?
It is a one-way street.
Okay, so it's a two-way street, or a one-way street to exit?
Yes.
Okay. And the dumpsters are over here in the bottom right-hand corner?
Yes, sir.
What is the field of view like from this camera that's oriented in the direction of the maintenance yard and the dumpster? If you look at footage from that camera, what are you looking at?
You can look down the road. There is a fence, obviously the fence we've been talking about, but if you look right to the top of the fence, you will be able to see a lot further down the road.
If you come in on that entrance road that's on kind of the left side of the frame, is it possible in Azalea to do sort of a complete loop that takes you out on the exit road that you described?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said earlier that's sort of how you're supposed to go in. And
That's how you're supposed to, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I've gone back to where we're only looking at this. I've advanced to where we're looking at the single arrow pointed up, and that signifies the first camera that you were talking about, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. In this next slide, where we see, it looks like we're looking at the monitor for a security system and an iPhone. What are we looking at here?
So that is the camera from the arrow that y'all just saw on the Google map, pointing towards, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the Chevron station building, and out here, you'll see Beachy Road.
All right, you're indicating towards the top right of
Yes, sir.
the image. So does this camera capture cars entering Azalea Mobile Home Plaza?
Yes, sir, it does.
And we heard testimony from Officer Schenker. And Your Honor, I'm sorry, I did not ask permission. May I remain seated at this point?
And Mr. Dean, anytime that you're operating in this way, you can remain seated.
Thank you, Ron. He testified that the timestamp on the Azalea cameras was off by it was like 80, 81 minutes slow. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir, I do. 80, 81 minutes because the phone does not give the seconds like the video does.
Okay. So this is the field of view from that first camera that we've talked about.
Yes, sir.
Now, I've advanced to the next slide. We see that arrow pointing down and to the left a little bit. That's the second camera that you described for us, correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
Or I should say the second Azalea camera that you described for us. This next slide, what are we seeing here?
This is the field of view from the camera that we just spoke of with the yellow arrow. It is right next to the other camera that points towards the Chevron station. This points towards the back-ish. I mean, as you would go back further into Azalea, you can also see, I believe, the first road that goes off to the right in that field of view.
And is that first road that goes off to the right, is that visible right there, kind of beyond that truck?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this, because you've mentioned that. I'm going to pull up what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 35. Do you see this?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Does that indicate what it looks like if you take a right turn on that road you just mentioned?
It appears to be.
Okay. All right, back to your presentation. I'm on slide 10 here. And I'll try to get us all on slide 10. If you give me a moment.
Mr. Dean, while you're preparing that, we need to take a short break. The time now is,
11:30. Let's make this a short break. It's a 10-minute break. Okay, we'll be back at 11:40, and of course, please don't discuss the case with anyone and don't do any research. Thank you. We're in recess.
Thank you.
Jurors indicated that they needed a break, so we'll just come back in 10 minutes. All right, thank you. We're in recess. little bit of an unexpected break, but we need breaks. And so now we're back on the record. We're about to bring the jury out. Everybody ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, please bring out the jury. All right, thank you, Williams. And please have a seat. There haven't been any discussions about the case? No research as well, correct? Okay. Mr. Dean.
All right, so we're on slide 11, and this is that area that you said signifies the third camera at Azalea that we talked about, the one that's oriented into that maintenance yard and kind of catches the dumpsters in the distance.
Yes, sir.
And we've got the dumpsters marked there, right?
Yes.
All right, this next slide, slide 12, what are we looking at here?
So again, as previously, we wanted to show the time difference. So obviously we have the cell phone. We also had a detective outside within view on this particular shot that shows the times are the same, and then you can see the timestamp up at the top.
Now, is this the field of view for the camera that we were just talking about?
It's as close as we could get to it. You know, we had it up in the air, and I think it's probably a little bit better view from the camera than what we're seeing here out the window. What we were trying to prove in this image was the time difference.
Okay. We are looking at a monitor here, though, right?
Yes.
All right. So this shows the orientation of that camera?
Yes, sir, it does.
Can you describe to us where that fence is that you were talking about earlier?
Yes, sir, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
So, what I describe as a metal hurricane fence is this. It goes all the way around. You might be able to see barbed wire at the top, and you could just see different types of, equipment, heavy equipment that's there.
And where are the dumpsters in this field of view?
Because I've examined it a lot, this dumpsters are roughly in this area right here. It's almost above. You see the skid steer's cat, and then you see what looks like an overturned traffic sign. It would be above the fence right here.
Okay, so it's like the extreme top right of the field of view.
Yes, sir.
Where is that exit road, the one-way exit road that runs along the top of that maintenance yard in this
The exit
field of view?
road would be running here, and then as you see the fence, it would be running past this fence right here.
So does this camera catch vehicles exiting Azalea using that exit road?
Yes, sir, it does.
Now, this is a photograph that I think is already introduced into evidence through Officer Schenker. This is just and I think he identified it as a photograph that was taken with the camera essentially under the video camera that we're talking about.
I made sure in camera speak that it was as close to what the human eye sees. That's called a 55 millimeter zoom. So I had him put his camera at 55 millimeter. It's as close as field of view that humans can get. But as you see, it's higher than the previous picture. Again, I'll bring your attention to the cat, skid steer, here's the sign. If you see this white vehicle right here, this is the assistant manager's vehicle of the mobile home park. Parked right there, and the dumpster, it's kind of hard to see for y'all probably a ways away, but you can actually see some brownish, and then there's some green, but that's exactly where the dumpsters are. We did not have her park there, by the way, she just happened to be there.
Moving on to the next slide. This is also a photograph that has been admitted through the testimony of Officer Schenker. Is that the white car sitting next to the dumpsters that you were just talking about?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is it in the same place in this image as it was in the last image?
It appears to be.
In other words, it hadn't moved?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So now let's actually watch this footage, okay? We backed out and we see the two source buildings, I guess I'll call them, New Ride Auto and the Azalea Management Office. This is slide 15. Slide 16, this is that New Ride Auto camera again.
Yes, sir, it is.
And then slide 17, this is a video clip, right?
Yes, sir, this is the video camera angle from New Ride Auto pointing towards Buckhalter. And you can also see a little bit of 17.
And what time is this footage from?
The timestamp says 1:16 and 15 seconds on Wednesday.
October 5th, 2022?
Yes.
All right, and what are we going to see in this clip?
You're going to see a vehicle pass through your view on the road.
Which road is it going to be on initially?
Buckhalter.
And what direction is it going to be traveling?
It's going to be traveling northbound or towards Ageechee Road.
And when it hits that intersection of Buckhalter and Ogeechee Road, what is it going to do?
It will take a right.
And what type of vehicle does it appear to you to be?
It appears to be a Dodge Journey, a light-colored Dodge Journey.
Now, this series of video clips is in chronological order of when the events occurred, correct?
Yes, sir, they are.
So, at this point, that Dodge Journey is taking a right onto Ogeechee Road from Buckhalter Road, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, moving to slide 18, we see the two source buildings marked again. In slide 19, this shows the position and orientation of the first camera that we're going to see footage from, correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
Now, can we see the overhang for the Chevron pumps up there in the top left area?
Yes, sir, in the top right, top left.
And are those some U-Hauls next to that, kind of reflecting?
Yes, I think at the time they were running U-Hauls at that establishment.
In that timestamp that says 23:56, that's 80 to 81 minutes slow, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if it says 23:56 and you add 80 to 81 minutes, you get like 1:17 a.m. or so
Yes, sir.
on October 5th, 2022, right?
Yes, sir.
And what is this clip going to show?
It's going to show a vehicle approach from the left side of the screen, and then it will make a right-hand turn on the entrance to Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Does it appear to be the same vehicle as in the last clip we just watched?
It does.
And this would have been just seconds after that clip we just watched, correct?
Yes, sir.
slide 21, this signifies the camera pointing the other way.
Yes, sir, it does.
And I think you mentioned earlier that a vehicle driving into Azalea would pass through the field of view of the camera we just watched footage from into the field of view of this camera.
Yes, sir.
Now, the next slide, what are we going to see here?
You're going to see a vehicle enter from the right-hand side of the screen and then go all the way across the screen and exit the left-hand side of the screen.
Now, we looked at that image earlier of that right turn that you can take with the red arrows.
Yes, sir.
And can you see that street where you would take a right? That's in this frame.
Yes, sir, it does.
Does the vehicle take a right on that road or not?
No, it does not.
And does the vehicle that we're about to see seem to be the same one from the previous vehicle?
It seems to myself, it seems to be the same vehicle.
And this clip would just be like a second or two after that one?
Yes, yes.
Right. Same vehicle driving down
The cameras are right next to each other.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that if you drive in this way that we've just watched this car do, you can make a loop and take that one-way exit road?
Yes, sir. It's a loop. There's several roads that bisect it, but you have to go to that other road to exit.
Is this, the way we just saw this car drive, is that the way that you would drive to make that loop?
Yes.
That takes you past the dumpsters and to that one-way exit road?
That is the full loop, yes, sir.
Now, what is this here?
Appears to be a still image of the vehicle that we just watched on the video.
And what is this next slide here, slide 24?
This is a Dodge Journey that is sitting in, I believe, the technical garage of the FBI building.
Is that the Dodge Journey that was towed from 535 Buckhalter?
Yes, sir, it is.
Does that Dodge Journey that was towed from the house and photographed at the FBI office, does that appear to be consistent with the vehicle that we're seeing in this security footage?
Yes, sir, it does. I pay particular attention to what we call the back part. If you can see the slant and the angle, there's certain things you look at when you've been looking at cars for a very long time on video that you try to key in on, even though the video is somewhat pixelated. The tire, the area of the tire appears to be the same. The angle of the light appears to be the same.
Now, this next slide, slide 25, this signifies the location of that camera that catches the dumpsters in the top of the field of view.
Yes.
Now, what are we going to see here?
So what you're going to see here is you're going to see some brightness, and I'll stand up.
Sure, yeah.
You're going to see some brightness. Again, I'll bring your attention to this cat skid steer. Here's the fallen down traffic sign. Again, you're looking in this area right here. And that's kind of orientates you.
And you said you're going to see some brightness. Does it appear to you to be vehicle headlights?
Yes, it does.
And are those vehicle headlights moving continuously throughout this video clip or not?
No, sir, they're not.
Can you tell us for about how long they appear to be stationary?
I think I said earlier, I misspoke. I believe it's probably around 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 15 seconds, something like that.
And based on the pictures that we've looked at so far, what area of the Azalea Mobile Home Plaza do those apparent vehicle headlights appear to be stationary at for 2 minutes or so?
Judging by where they're stationary and knowing what I knew from the white vehicle being parked there, I believe it to be in the area of the dumpsters.
Now, initially, when you're just seeing headlights stationary in the area of the dumpsters, are you able to tell what vehicle that is at that point?
No, sir.
Is there a point in this video clip where you do get a good look at that vehicle?
Yes, sir. I believe so. If the jury remembers, I spoke of a hurricane fence and the slats going through them. These are, angled green slats. We've probably all seen them at construction sites. It's supposed to somewhat obscure what's behind the fence. But when a vehicle or when anything is moving behind it, you get an idea better when that object is moving. So you'll see right in here.
What is the vehicle doing at that point? Which direction is it headed? What road is it on? And so
It is headed towards the exit.
Is it on that one-way exit road you described?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, that runs along the top side of that yard?
Yes, sir, it does.
Now, when you get a look at it at that point, does it appear to you to be the same vehicle that we've been seeing in all these other video clips?
It does.
With that preview, I'll go ahead and play the video clip on slide 26 here. Now, at this point, we're about halfway into this video clip. At this point, do those headlights appear to be stationary in the area of the dumpsters?
Yes, sir.
When they appear to start moving to you and making that movement that you were describing to us, will you just let us know and kind of narrate to us what that vehicle is doing and where it's heading?
Okay, it's now moving. As you can tell, there's some light shining off the building, and obviously you see now the car comes into view. You can see it pass what appears to be the same vehicle, crossover vehicle, which is what a Dodge Journey is classified as, a crossover.
And which direction, like where would this vehicle be heading at this point?
Logically, it'd be heading out, exiting the Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Towards Ogeechee Road?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now this next slide, slide 27, this is the first Azalea camera that we talked about, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
This is the one that captures the entrance from Ogeechee Road of vehicles going into Azalea. and the exit from Azalea onto Ogeechee Road and vehicles leaving, correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
And this next slide, slide 28, is some footage from that camera, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what are we going to see here?
You're going to see a car come in from the right-hand side of the screen, make a right-hand turn, and then up at Ogeechee Road or Highway 17, you'll see it make a left-hand turn.
Now, initially, when you see, I guess, the headlights of that car, or maybe the car itself, what road is it going to be on? Is it going to be on that one-way exit road?
Yes. It's kind of a triangle, but it's on the exit part of it.
And it's going to make a right onto the Azalea Road that comes off of Ogeechee, and then a left onto Ogeechee Road itself.
Yes, sir, it will.
Does it come to a complete stop?
Yes, it is coming and it is signaling that it's going to turn to the left. And now it's turned.
Now, from the footage that we've watched to this point, did that vehicle appear to stop at the Chevron on the way in or
No,
on the way out from Azalea?
No, sir, it did not.
Now, did you also get video footage from the Chevron itself?
We did pull video from the Chevron station.
And did you look at that video footage to see whether it somehow showed the vehicle stopping at the Chevron station on either end of this trip?
It showed what this video shows.
Does it essentially just show it driving by the Chevron? to
Yes,
go
sir,
through
it does.
Azalea, and then later out of Azalea?
Yes.
Now, moving on to slide 30, we're back at New Ride Auto here, right?
Yes, sir, we are.
The Ogeechee Road Buckhalter intersection.
Yes.
And what are we going to see in this video clip at slide 31?
You'll see a vehicle approach from the right-hand side of the screen, and it will make a left-hand turn onto Buckhalter Road.
Does it appear to be the same vehicle that we've been watching for the last?
It appears to be.
A little glitchy. Let's try that again, see if it works better. What time are we at here?
It is 1:22:45 in the morning on Wednesday, 10/5/2022.
Now, would that right turn on Buckhalter there, or I'm sorry, left turn onto Buckhalter there, would that take you back to 535 Buckhalter Road?
Yes, if you followed Buckhalter Road, it would take you back there.
One moment, please, John. No further questions, John.
Thank you. Sergeant Coleman, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Good. Just got a couple of questions. You're more technologically advanced than I am.
I don't know.
Well, I call my daughter in college for computer help, so.
I understand.
In terms of collection of cell phone information,
Yes, sir.
my understanding is there's a computer program which you know how to operate.
Yes, sir.
I think your words were you plug it in and let the machine do its thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your job is to be the technical guy who is able to download that stuff, for lack of a more precise term.
Yes, sir.
And then provide it to the detectives for interpretation.
Yes.
Okay. And you used a phrase in terms of the videos that we've been talking about for the last few minutes. Out of frame. Tell us what that means, please.
When I say out of frame, I meant out of frame of the physical television.
Okay. So if it's out of frame, anyone who's looking at it, trying to interpret it, can't really see what's going on.
That would be correct.
You said that most of the video, at least that I think I watched, other than the references of where cameras were, the actual video of cars really moving and things was pretty dark.
It is dark in there at night, yes, sir.
And I think we were talking about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the vehicles that you've seen, at least the ones that I saw, and I want you to tell me if I'm wrong, those videos that you were referencing, I didn't see anybody get in a vehicle or get out of them. Is that correct? Okay. So we see cars moving or just parked.
Yes.
And in terms of identifying vehicles, I think you said that there was a picture of the Dodge Journey, and I think it's the FBI.
Yes, in their tech lab, yes.
Thank you. Didn't want to call it the FBI garage.
It basically is.
What you actually said was that picture was consistent with the vehicle that we have seen some pictures of moving.
I believe it to be.
Okay. Consistent means kind of looks like it, but you can't be absolutely sure it's the same vehicle, can you?
I believe it to be the same make and model, yes, sir.
Because it's consistent.
And color.
It's consistent with what you saw in the FBI place.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
There are a couple of slides on here that I neglected to ask you about because I momentarily thought we had come to the end. Going to slide 32, what structure are we seeing here?
So this is a single-wide mobile home. I believe it's, can't remember the lot number. For some reason 13 is sticking in my head, but I could be wrong on that.
Where is it in reference? Is it at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza?
Yes, sir.
Where is it in relation to the dumpsters?
If I was taking this picture and I turned around 180 degrees, the dumpsters are right there.
Okay, so this picture is taken essentially from the dumpsters.
Yes, sir.
Now, zooming in on that at slide 33, what are we looking at there over the window?
So right above the window is it's a camera, video camera, and it stores, it's not the kind of video camera that has a central storage area. It has what's called a SD card in it. Think of it as a little hard drive, okay? You pull it out, you can put it in a computer, and then watch the video. It doesn't have its own computer with it. It was explained to me by the manager of Azalea Mobile Home Park that they own that camera, but that the man that actually owns the trailer allowed them to keep it there. They were not sure if it worked or not, but obviously because of its proximity, we were very interested in it. We were given permission to take the camera by the property management. We looked at the camera, we took the SD card out. I could use the term corrupted. This camera is not made for outside, and we all live in Savannah. It's humid, it's hot. This is not a ruggedized camera, and we were not able to pull any images or video from this camera at all.
Did you, once you had taken a crack at it, did you give that camera or the SD card in it or both to the FBI
Yes, sir, I did.
to see whether they could do any more than you were able to do with it?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you mentioned it's not designed for outdoor use. Is it an indoor camera?
It's an indoor camera.
And is it something like it had been put up by the manager to deter illegal dumping?
That's what she explained to me.
Okay. Just to be clear, was this something, we've watched a bunch of video from like the commercial system at the property management office, right?
Right.
And all those cameras worked and everything, barring the timestamp issue. Was this camera a part of or tied into that, commercial system?
No, sir, it was not.
Something totally different.
Yes.
And you guys took it and did what you could with it.
We did what we could with it, yes, sir.
But you were ultimately not able to recover any footage from it from the night of the 4th?
I was not, no, sir.
Okay. One moment, please. No further questions.
Thank you.
Nothing further. Thank you, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, thank you. You may step down and you're excused.
Thank you.
I think it's a great time for a break. It's 12:15. Let's break for lunch. Let's come back at 1:15. We'll come back in an hour. I understand that you're having lunch here up in the snack bar area. We'll get back, get started. No worries. We're not going to go extremely long today. Okay? I figured I'd break it to you. But
You can make me the bad guy if that ends up happening.
Mr. Dean.
No objection to that.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll see y'all in an hour. Well, 1 hour. Okay, we're in recess. No discussion, no research, please.
Jury's exiting.
All right. Thank you. We're in recess for an hour. Thank you.
All right, as you just heard, they are in recess for an hour. They broke around 1:15, so they're coming, or excuse me, 12:15, so they're coming back around 1:15, and so that'll put us back on this live stream around 12 or 1:45. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in a little while.